Metafix is a show that teaches you how to think in the metagame. I am not here to give you the answers, nor am I going to tell you how to win. Metafix teaches you how to play in the metagame and how to react around the metagame and what is in the metagame. If you're looking for the answers, try HC Realms, check the forums, they have all kinds of neat toys and tools and teams being brought up, and check the results of a lot of the ROC tournaments or any Worlds tournaments to see how teams played out and what teams were used for. I'm just here to help you think. This is the real, absolute, most requested episode of Metafix ever. And I swear I've tried to do it several times. I've honestly tried to do it multiple times. But then a watch list happened, and then things changed, and... Anyway, that being said, allow me to introduce playing in the No Tactics ROC format. Alright, so first thing first, we have to talk about what is the ROC No Tactics format. For the first half of the ROC season, this is every tournament that the ROC is running in the modern age before April, and this is just applying for super qualifiers and regionals. You are limited on what you can play. Before April, you are allowed no tactics, no figures bigger than a peanut base, and no entity possession. Okay? Now, allow me to explain what tactics are. You go into the back section of the rulebook. This is part 4 on page 20. There's a title called Tactics. From here on to the glossary is where tactics kind of fall under. So, the following things are tactics. Special objects, relics, resources, feats, not that there's any feats in modern age anyway. Battlefield conditions, again, not like there's any in modern age. Event dials, again, no modern age. Bystander tokens, horde tokens, theme teams, or the theme team benefits, of course, which include additional team abilities. It's something that a lot of people miss is additional team abilities got shifted into theme team benefits, and that means that they're part of the tactics bubble, and that's what falls under what is a tactic. I'm going to get into what technically isn't a tactic in a little bit of a section of this. And now, when they say no character bigger than a peanut base, a peanut base is one of the bases that you'd see like under the entities. It's a base that occupies 2 squares. Anything bigger than that is like a 2x2 or a 4 square covering base that you see a lot of colossals on, or anything bigger than that, right? Those are all no-goes. So, what does this do to the format? What it does to the format is it takes away the easy mode that resources come with. Resources are a very familiar piece of equipment that we've all become very used to, that give us something for the cost of points. So in the case of the power battery, it gives your team a series of options and eventually stat bonuses later on, as well as extra abilities coming from it itself. That kind of thing is gone now. Relics, of course, a lot of people... If you look at the major game, a lot of time you can look at a relic and say, well, I'd rather use the resource because you get the resource, whereas the relic you have to roll for it. So, what this means then is in the format, you are limited to characters and some outside objects in the game. So let's start with what isn't a tactic. What isn't a tactic is a section I wanted to do because this is one of those finicky things about the game. If you look at the tactic is available to any team. There's no real limitation on how it gets there. There might be some limitations on how you can use it, like feats. But what this means then, there are things like word bubbles and things like constructs. What these have in common is that they're not tactics, but they're also limited in how you can get them into the game, which is what makes them not tactics. The word bubbles, you need a character with pool in their name. Deadpool, Headpool, Kidpool, Dogpool, etc., etc. The constructs, you need either the power battery, and since this is no tactics, you can't bring the power battery, you're stuck with characters with the little slots in their bases. So, of course, this is one of those things you want to think about when building your team if you need those little extra bonuses that are provided by these little elements. Word bubbles aren't as strong as the constructs are. The word bubbles are a little bit more finicky and minor versions of powers that already exist, with the exception of the blank word bubble, which is wildcard. That said, we carry ourselves into the current meta. Let's start with the constructs and how they're being used. There's a couple characters that do allow the use of constructs that have been very prevalent in the current ROC meta. Now, some things are going to change with regards to the ROC meta, or the ROC meta, however you want to refer to it, because the watch list. What the watch list changed, besides entity possession, was the way Bill works, the way Bizarro works, the way a couple other characters function. I think the other one, Bill, Bizarro, and Iron Pharaoh. Now, as far as the meta is concerned, you can say goodbye to Iron Pharaoh. He's done. he's goodbye, bye-bye. But, of course, your instant thought is, well, now I'm going to bring Phantom X back into the game. But no, you're not, because Eva is a bystander token. Sorry, guys. That said, we move on to the guys with the constructs. The guys with the constructs who let you bring the constructs are good in several ways. One, they give you the construct as an extra ability. And if you're smart about it, or what a lot of guys have been doing, you take a 10-point construct, and that's the high point of all the constructs. There's no construct bigger than 10 points, but they all have an ability to switch constructs to lower point ones, or give them a power action to switch to a different construct should you need it at an equal point. Now, the reason I mention these guys and how they're really good in the game is in the current meta, there is one who is making a lot of appearances. His name is Kyle Rayner. Now, the reason Kyle Rayner is so dominant in this is because, one, you get the constructs, and two, his second click, or his third click, sorry. If you deal 2 or more damage to Kyle Rayner, he's going to stop on click 3. And what click 3 comes with is a 12 movement, 12 attack, 19 defense, 5 damage with at wit. What's worse is that 12 movement comes with a power that allows him to use duo attack, and before each attack of the duo attack, you're allowed to place him within 6 squares of where he is, and then make the attack, right? So you can deal 9 damage in a single turn once he's on that click. As well, that comes with Impervious and Quintessence, which makes him winnable. And the power can't be ignored. So the power can't be countered and the power can't be ignored. A little hard to deal with, to be honest. So Pulse Waves is still, he still gets a chance to bump that off. So he's a potent figure in what he does. And what's even worse about these construct guys like Kyle Rayner or Abin Sur, who's 50 points for the love of God, but the stats that he brings, nuts. Is they're colorblind. These constructs are colorblind because when you put it on the dial, all it's saying is you need to bring a construct. It's non-specific as to color. What that means is Kyle Rayner can bring the yellow wall with him. He can bring the yellow crossbow with him. And what's more important about that is for those of you who are on a budget, the yellow wall, which is the probably most prevalent piece played because it's free barrier, which is blocking line of fire, which is free barrier is nuts. 2 free barriers? Not so. So you can get the wall if you have an Abin Sur already, and if you've made a bad trade and the guy didn't give you the wall, you need to go find him. And the wall comes with the Sinestro core, or the Sinestro power battery, the Sinestro core power battery, the yellow power battery. Guaranteed. It comes with it. And if it doesn't, you're getting ripped off. So, some things to think about with regards to the game is that these are... Now, the reason I'm talking about all these things, before I move on to the next part, you need to know what you're playing against in order to build your team forward. So, Kyle Rayner, he's a figure that you're going to have to deal with, and your team has to know how to deal with. And as we go through this further and further, as we go deeper into the rabbit hole that exists in this, you're going to have to know these are the guys that you're going to have to fight. Alright. Next I want to talk about a very common strategy coming up in the up-and-coming ROCs and very commonly sought after is Swiss Army knife characters. A couple of them very specifically have been making their voices known. One specifically has been running absolutely rampant as we're filming this at the Majestics ROC in the regionals in Costa Mesa, and that is a Super Scroll. I don't have him, and I've been hunting him for a couple months now. He's really, really good at what he does. He can, at the risk of taking just 1 damage, you can give him a full complement of 4 powers until your next turn. That, if you think about it in itself, is pretty cool when you can get exactly the powers you need, in addition to the powers that Super Scroll's already going to have. And let's not forget the fact that he's a zombie. So if he's being your aggressive force and actually managing to get some aggression out, he's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to kill. So his ability to choose powers, as well as Engineer's ability to choose powers whenever at will on your turn, these are all very potent, usable abilities. And these are characters that you actually going to have to think about how you're going to deal with. Are you going to be able to deal with a Super Scroll who's already got a built-in shape change, even though it's on a 6, could give himself another shape change, could give himself either super senses or impervious, depending on what you're packing. You see kind of where I'm going with this, right? So that is another strategy you're going to have to either bring or have to deal with now. So there's that. Proxibil. So Proxibil, I call it that. It's Proxima Midnight and Bill. Now, the watchlist has made this a little bit trickier to pull off, let's be brutally honest. And Bill's not even necessary for the Proxima standard. Proxima Midnight is a very potent character and constructed because of the fact that she's got multiple targets with her tracer tokens, and then she leaves behind the token when she hits somebody to deal some damage to them. Do you know who one of the reasons she's been prevalent in the metagame is because Kyle Rayner is prevalent in the metagame. If you hit Kyle Rayner with her on the first click, he's going to go to a stop click. But then at the beginning of your next turn, you might get that chance to deal a penetrating damage to him and pop him off that stop click. Once he's past that stop click, he's a little more of a puppy dog and a little easier to deal with. His defenses can be ignored, countered, etc., etc. You know what I mean? So, Proxima has been doing quite the number on Kyle Rayner. But now this has only happened once, so I'm not going to attest to it, and don't take my word as the gospel on this one. But Mentor has shown his face in the ROC metagame at least once. And he is a problem for Proxima. He's got a trait that cancels all her traits. So the fact that she can't use any traits means she doesn't have range anymore, which means she doesn't have the tracer tokens anymore, which means she doesn't have culling the obsidian anymore. So the other part of Proxima Midnight is she's not exactly the toughest character, but when you do kill her, she hits back when you kill her, and that's annoying. You generally want to try to kill her, get that last click off of her with like a poison, a little poke, you know, just a little bit. Alright, let's talk about the stall tactics. Now, I want to point out, when I say stall tactics, I am not referring to sitting across from your opponent and staring at them and making the game go to length. I mean making your opponent unable to do something, kind of like stalling a car. You know, you get the car's, the car's not going to go kind of idea. And two of the most obvious characters to do that with have been Highfather, who does it for coming on the board, and Captain Marvel, who does it for hitting your opponent. And what's even more important about Captain Marvel is his defend ability, which gives him 18 defense and anybody not Kree adjacent to him a +1 defense on top of that. So you're not really building theme teams in this format anyway, because guess what? This is a no tactics format. You're not getting a theme team as it is. Who cares, right? So Captain Marvel and Highfather have been used in conjunction, and they're also been used on other teams in different builds. So one of the tactics is taking away your ability to play the game. Very legitimate way of playing the game right now. A little obnoxious, so you got to be ready for that. Things that kind of irk these types of strategies, though, would be swarm teams. teams with multiple figures, effective figures. Effective figures is a key on that one when you say a swarm team. They got to be low cost, high effect, good output for what you're paying your points for with regards to a swarm team. Because Highfather will, okay, your 70-point figure can't do anything, and Captain Marvel has too many targets with a single target to have to hit. Don't bunch him though, because he does get energy explosion. Next up is the talked about but not brought strategy. Okay, since these two have come out, and I've done an episode on this before, the conversation has surrounded these guys, and I have yet to see them show up. Kingdom Come Flash and Turtle. We're all talking about it. I don't know why we're all talking about it, but it's putting it in all of our mind. And the reason is that this is kind of almost falls into stall tactics, but isn't a stall tactic because I don't think it exists, and I think it's a myth. But it's one of those things, when I was saying in the beginning, is these are teams you'll want to be able to beat, or with the teams you're bringing. I'm not telling you how to build. That's never been the idea of this show. My idea is I'm going to show you what people are playing now, and these are things that have done well, right? These are something that nobody has quite broken the build yet for it, but it could happen. Who knows? So, something to think about. So now let's talk about the support. The extra figures that add to the problems. The thing about no tactics is you don't have the ability to throw in extra pieces to your resource just to make your points up. You don't have the ability to, if you have 25 points over, to just slap an entity on. So you do kind of have to think of how you're going to spend those points. A few options, some of which I didn't even bring down. I forgot. Dial it back a bit, second. The wildcard strategy. This has won ROCs in the past, and it's scary to think about the idea of it occurring. And I believe the Shatterstar. Basically, the idea of Shatterstar makes your opponent turn around and go, why do we have a map? Because his ability to be in your face in your starting area with his team is nuts. And often they're played in doubles. So all of a sudden, 4 characters are in your face. And Shatterstar is a nutso character to be base-to-base with at 17 defense with combat reflexes. I believe his white attack power and Amber is going to nod, if I'm right, is like Flurry and Blades Claw's Fangs. With exploit weakness here. This is a 73-point figure. Is it Flurry and Blades Claws? I gotta check now. But he doesn't actually get Flurry, so maybe it is. I might be wrong. Who knows? So, Shatterstar strategies are something that you can find in your face. Now, there are ways to deal with that, like sharpshooters. You shoot him in base-to-base, then guess what? Right? So, something to think about. Now I want to talk about the extra support bits. I didn't bring all of them down. Some of them are obvious. Blind Owl is an obvious one. Star Labs Technicians is an obvious one. 33 points with TK. Mandroid Armors are back, boy! They're just called Star Lab Technicians. And they also come with support now. Ooh. Blind Owl for kicking in some activation clicks. She's a fantastic little figure to get Bill going. Anybody who's got something on a second click, Blind Owl's going to help you get there. But there are some guys that, and Blind Owl comes with Perplex. There are some figures that just kind of help build the team, and some of them kind of stand out as really good. Now, those of you who've been paying attention to the watch list, yes, Bizarro did get a nerf. He can only go as high as 150 points. He can only be healed by support. Or he can only get his tokens back by support. But that doesn't stop him from being 25 points. At 25 points, Bizarro still brings all the stats he has on the style. The ability to carry a character on your team, because God knows you need a nice little taxi. He's a tough 25 points to take down, because God knows it's already tricky to do one token off, get one token off of Bizarro. So, I mean, how can you go wrong with this figure? As well, Despitalis is 30 points and easy to throw on any team, and he takes no effort to bring him with you. As well, he's very common in the Shatterstar combinations of teams, because Shatterstar brings them, drops them in front of you. Now you have a nasty case of Despotalis to deal with. And a Chicken Soup is not going to help you in this case. Chicken Soup doesn't hit a 20 defense. So, those are the teams that you got to think about when you're building an ROC-based team. And I've never, like I said, I didn't give the entire teams. I gave the focal points of these teams. You have to be able to deal with these characters on these teams or these types of teams in order to get your way through to a victory in the ROC. Now, in some cases, some of these have actually been victorious, and you're going to see them because they are just that effective. The commonality of the Super Skrull is getting a little shocking because he's a very tricky character to play. So, as I've warned with net decking, be ready to deal with everything that's on the board with regards to Super Skrull. You can't just bring Super Skrull and go, he's gonna work. You have to know what you're doing with it. It's the same with the Proxima Bill, especially now that Bill has gotten that little bit of a tweak downwards. If you're bringing Captain Marvel and Highfather, and you're pulling a net deck that you've seen in an ROC, you got to know how it works. I mean, we know how Highfather works. What's the functionality of Captain Marvel? Is there other things that are going to stop you from being able to do that? You got to know how to react to the way your opponent plays and how you might play it differently. If you catch my meaning. I think I've spoken at length about how this works. And this is something we've started adding to the beginning of the show. I'm not here to give you the answers. I'm here to give you the thought process. So this is the thought process you got to follow when going to the ROC team, building for the ROC is, am I able to beat these figures? Now what's more important is more sets are coming out. When is the ROC that you're going to? Is it a super qualifier in March? Because by March, Trinity War's out. That's going to completely shuffle up the metagame. As sets come out, the metagame changes to a degree. Now some sets don't change the metagame at all. Some bring just a character, but that one character can affect the metagame. Proxima is the only thing. Proxima and Captain Marvel are pretty much the major players that are in front of me that have come from Guardians of the Galaxy. The best set barely touched the metagame. Meanwhile, War of Light has had probably one of the biggest impacts with just these two characters. There's been John Stewart's that are showing up as well that I haven't checked the strategy on, and I do believe there's a chance it could be pre-watch list. Who knows? I have to look them up myself. Despotalis, of course, from War of Light, plus all the constructs. Can't say enough. These constructs are really good. Deadpool's added. Deadpool is a weird one in the fact that it adds a lot of support. Watch out for weasels. If you see weasels, their team is ranged. You gotta cut them down quick. Weasels can get out of hand if you're not paying attention, and you don't want that to happen to you. Amber is staring because I'm talking about weasels.
It's weasel stomping day.
That said, I hope this helps all you guys who are really excited about this episode. I did my best that I could. I can't answer all the questions. I have to give you the thinking. Like I said, go back to the beginning of the episode. I am not here for your thought process. I'm here for your thought process, not to give you the answer. The opinions and thoughts brought to you in Metafix are not meant for the casual game at the table. Married with Clix is proudly sponsored by Majestics Comics, Collectibles, and Games, located in Costa Mesa, California, near the Orange County Fairgrounds. If you don't happen to live in the Costa Mesa, California area, though, you can check out their website, linked down below, MajesticCCG.com, where you can check out all kinds of stuff to shop for, the regular tournament listings if you happen to live in the area, or if you need to shop, they've always got some Heroclix stuff if you check out both their eBay store, which is linkable in their website, as well as their online store, which I believe should be having product added soon enough. Also, they keep regular articles written by some of the great minds in Heroclix, including Adam Friedman, the 2014 Heroclix Nationals champ, and of course, the owner of the store, Patrick Yabjoko, the 2014 Heroclix Worlds champ, 2014 Team Worlds champion, as well as the 2014 DragonCon ROC champion. Wow, that's quite a year he had last year. I think he's going to repeat it in 2015, right? So, don't forget to check the link down below, or check out the store if you live in the area.